There is nothing better than having a group of people after a great meal sit around the table and talk about a serious bit of business and what's on their mind. And our first piece of business is distracted driving. There's a huge crackdown coming from the federal government. It's already in the works on both the federal level and the state level. There are new federal guidelines that were released in April aimed to curb distracted driving by encouraging manufacturers to not install devices in cars that allow people to text, get text message, or even to access the internet. This is a very serious issue, and I know everyone at this table has something to say about it. So let's go right away. I'd like to hear your story, Janet, before we just gut ourselves and admit to what we're doing.
When I hear distracted driving, I reflect back on a tennis acquaintance I had who was killed head-on 23. She was going in one direction, and a car drifted across and killed her on her way home. After the investigation, they found out the young woman, 21-year-old, was texting because they could check on those things, and that was the direct reason why she lost her life. Her own 21-year-old daughter lost her mother, and just freaked me out. I used that with my own daughters all the time about the importance of texting, what you could do to yourself or to someone else, and they knew the family personally.
Dolly, I don't want to go right to you and talk about your story without admitting to everyone at this table that every day it's a fight for me not to text. I picked my phone up and I could just write yes. And I would say most of the time I put it right back down. And I have to admit that something goes through my mind when I say, if anything happens, they could just pick up my phone and see that I have done that. So there is something there to being policed, but why can't I just not do it? But Dolly, tell us your story, if you don't mind.
Yes, I am driving my children all the time to different places. So I find that I need to use the phone. I cannot ignore it. And I admitted to texting. And but most of the time, what I do is that I give the phone to my children, whoever's sitting next to me, and they serve as my secretary. So I would say, text your dad that we're on our way, and that's how we handle texting in the car. A friend of mine read the story in your website, and she challenged me to stop it for the 40 days of the Lenten season. And I took this challenge.
Study after study shows that everyone is texting. 90% of the people out there are texting. Kids are texting. Their parents are texting. Their parents are texting in front of them. Does anybody else want to just talk about that?
I don't text in my car. The only reason that I don't is because I can't read my phone. I'll be honest, if it came up on my windshield, I would text in my car. I see everybody around me text in my car, and I understand the danger to it, but it is hard to tell yourself when you could just say yes to not do it.
I don't know how you don't text in the car. Is there a solution to this that's technologically feasible? What do you think of the systems that read text messages to you while you're driving? What do you think, Jacqueline?
It's still sort of more of a distractor than just talking to someone. I mean, I think everyone's so plugged in all the time now, and that's like an overriding thing all throughout life. You can't sit down at dinner with someone without them texting or answering a phone call. And I think people need to unplug. And if you're not doing like a 30-hour car trip, then unplug in your car and unplug when you're spending quality time with other people. Otherwise, what's the point?
Do you think that the phone companies bear any responsibility here? Do you think that all cell phones should absolutely be disabled when you're inside of a car?
No, I mean, we're adults. We have to show some restraint at some point. And I struggle with this. I'm not speaking from a high and mighty voice. I'm a salesperson. I work in a very high demand field. It's stressful. I'm getting bombarded with text literally constantly for 12 hours a day. But what I've chose to do is actually leave my phone in the back seat, in the pocket in my briefcase, because it forces me And every time I hear it, I literally twinge and I start to freak out. But it's taught me over the last few months that it just has to wait until I park the car.
There are a lot of distractions driving.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is going to be an issue for some time until it's sorted out. Eating is a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't happen very frequently. Talking to someone in the car is a distraction. Talking on the phone is a distraction. What the problem, I think, is we're doing this now all the time. We are just, as Jacqueline says, plugged in.
Yeah.
So it was a good discussion. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.